Failure is something I think about a lot, and not for the reason you think, because I know it's kind of contradictory to the video topic, but you'll see why in a second. So, failure is something that's inevitable, okay? It's, I'd argue, just as bound to us as death. All the trees around me, all the plants, me, all the people in this neighborhood, you, are going to, eventually die. There's nothing you can do about it, no matter your genetics, money, power, fame, status. Same goes with failure. And so with that, it kind of begs the question, well, how can we avoid it? How can I not, how can I not experience that because I'm scared of it? It gives me anxiety. I'm depressed because of it. All these other, things you could say about it. That's your first problem, though, is looking at it that way. And I know, you're gonna see this and hear this for the 9 bajillionth time, like all this self-help, regurgitated slop. But it's different this time, because after this, you won't need to watch any more of these. You won't need to, click on any more of these, because you'll just realize literally how simple, there's really not much to it. There's no secret formula, there's no course that you can take. Because one thing I hate the most is when, you're genuinely stuck or lost and you can't figure something out, and then there's people trying to sell these courses and trying to monetize off of all this bullshit, and it just pisses me off. And I've been in that position before, but I kind of want to stop that, for the masses. I want to kill that. There's no point in that. People just need to, just be honest, and that's what I'm trying to do here. And that's also why it's not going to be the most, put together video you've ever seen. It's very, there's going to be a lot of cuts. It's very sporadic. That's why I try to give a little bit of nice scenery. I'm on vacation right now. So, yeah, just relax and just hear me out on this, okay? So like I mentioned, something about being simple. Everything is simple, okay? The only thing that creates complexity, the only thing that creates problems are negative emotions. And that's not me saying, hey, ignore all your bad feelings, just shove them down, just throw them away. That's not what I'm saying, okay? Because they keep us balanced as human beings. They keep us balanced, our souls. They keep us in check. Quite humbling. But one thing is you have to let them just pass through, okay? Yes, experience them, yes, feel them, yes, grieve. But they can just be shrugged off, They're not things that have to occupy our mind every day, all day. They're really not. And I know there's sometimes exceptions, but for the general populace, I'd argue that it's really just simple and you can shrug them off after you feel them a little bit. So if failure doesn't cross your mind, right? Well, let's get to that in a second. Let's look at high achievers. People who, achieve some sort of level of greatness or are really good at what they do. From what I've gathered, from my experiences so far, and not necessarily research, there's usually two lanes that these kinds of people can take, okay? There's a lane that's not sustainable at all. In very few cases, it can be sustainable, operating from fear. So there's the high achievers that operate from fear. That can get you, a long way. Whether it's some sort of childhood pressure that was bestowed upon you, you need to do these things, your grades need to be like this, you need to be in this activity, and whatever. You need to practice this X amount of time. But when you operate from fear, you're going to eventually break down, whether it takes 30 years or 5 years or a year or a month, you're going to eventually break down. There's no sustainability to it. And even in the lucky case that you don't break down, you'll probably end up with lots of regret, loss for your passion, and just what is the meaning of all this, That's what tends to happen with people who operate from fear, in the sense that they're also achieving at the same time. Because at the end of the day, this is what matters the most, and this is what you have to keep together when you're going about your life. You have to sacrifice a lot of things when you want to achieve stuff, but this is one thing that you absolutely can never sacrifice. But that's not to say that you can't be hard on it, okay? You can be hard on it all you want. Just know that you have control over it and know how to control it. Now, there's a more sustainable route. Operate from the lack of failure, to operate from the lack of fear of those, like failure and death. It stems from like a sort of relentlessness, and I guess some could say ignorance. You know, it really depends on the people that are around you and the people that are going to see what you're doing. It can be ignorance to some people, but not everyone's going to understand. Now, what's the main difference between these two? Not only that one is not sustainable and one is more sustainable, because either way you're going to be making sacrifices, and depending on the person, depending on, you know, your mental, how you are, it can vary from each person. But if you operate from the more sustainable route, right, the lack of fear of whatever, failure and death, you can literally achieve anything you want to, okay? The only reason you're scared to go into that job interview, or you're scared to go and talk to that girl, or you're scared to start, I don't know, your new hobby or career, is because you're thinking about failure. Or the perceptions of other people, which also, you know, can be in that, it's like a baby of failure. Now think if you didn't have that, if you just like were completely void of it, you'd be able to do anything you wanted, right? And so people think it's like, oh, like those people are just ignorant, like they're just cold-hearted, they don't care about other people, like they're selfish. That's exactly what I was saying. Some people will perceive it that way, but it's not necessarily that you're that way. So if you go into a job and you're, you know, it comes off as boasting or whatever, so what? There's like a gajillion fucking, you know, things to do. Like, you can find a lane for yourself. Not saying it's always going to be easy, but it's a lot more simple than all these like complexities you're putting into it. And I'd argue most of the time, in most cases, what you're thinking is probably not even rational. At the end of the day, it's really just all about the lack of fear of. As much as I want to add something else, like, there's really nothing else to it. And if it's your time to understand this, you'll understand it. If it's not, you won't. There's no secret formula that you can take. There's no course you can do. There's literally, it's all about your own understanding and your own perception. The reason I'm doing this is because I feel like the earth lacks a sort of honesty. Yeah, I just kind of want to show the scenery a little bit. I have no socks on, but it's kind of nice. It's a nice little neighborhood here. The sky's good. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'll be back on my setup in a couple weeks. Have a good one. Heads up. Keep your head up, twin. Let's go.